News comes first. News Channel 8 at 11 starts now.
He was carrying a gun, running after one of our teachers.
I just want to hold her. Just want to hold her tight.
Can you imagine what it's like to not have a student get off a bus?
And I guess I would just ask all Oregonians to hold them in their thoughts and their hearts and their prayers.
Good evening, I'm Laurel Porter in the KGW studios.
And I'm Joe Donlin, live at Reynolds High School, the site of so much terror and so many tears today. Just after 8 o'clock this morning, police say a lone gunman walked into the gymnasium, then down into the locker room where he opened fire. One student was shot and killed. He's been identified as 14-year-old Emilio Hoffman, just a freshman here at Reynolds High School. This was the man who was wounded. He's Todd Rispler, a very popular teacher and track coach. He was actually able to activate the school lockdown procedure even after he was shot. Now, at this point tonight, police are not releasing much information about the shooter, only that he was found dead a short time after Hoffman was shot and killed. But NBC News is reporting he was a student here, but so far we do not know anything more about his identity. Tonight, though, it was not the shooter. It was those who were shot, who were the focus of students, staff, and even strangers who attended 2 vigils tonight. We have extensive team coverage beginning with Mike Benner, who has more on the student who was killed. We are also going to talk with Catherine Cook, who has more information on the teacher who was injured. But we begin tonight with News Channel 8's Reggie Akey. He attended those 2 vigils tonight, and he joins us now from a school not far from here, the site of one of those vigils. Reggie?
Yeah, I'm at a middle school, and the first vigil was at a church earlier. This is the second vigil that finished up just a few minutes ago. And I had a chance just moments ago to talk to one of the vice principals from Reynolds High School, and what she said really struck me, because she said she really believes that it was the actions of the teachers and staff and fellow students which made it possible for her and the rest of the student body to be here tonight, hundreds of them, in order to honor the young man who wasn't able to be here, the one who lost his life. She really thinks that the quick action of many of her staff members saved so many lives. Take a listen to what she had to say to me.
When I came to the vigil tonight, I discovered how humanity seems to rise above sometimes these type of tragic situations. So always remember to say, I love you, and always try to leave saying something positive, because you just don't know what could happen in the next minute.
Throughout the vigil tonight, people would start singing songs. Amazing Grace was one of them, and it would start with just a few people. It would grow to a larger group until the whole crowd was singing the song. And as loud as that was, you could still hear sobbing in the background. I'm told by those who are familiar with Emilio Hoffman's family that it was one of his sisters mourning her big brother tonight. Standing right next to her and next to Emilio's mother in this vigil, Governor John Kitzhaber. I spoke to him right after the first vigil and before he came over here to this middle school to get his thoughts about this very long and trying day.
I guess I would just ask all Oregonians to hold them in their thoughts and their hearts and their prayers. And I guess also to ask ourselves how we manage to build a society where our young people have active shooter drills.
That is the governor tonight speaking about once again, another tragedy here in Oregon. Over this past week, of course, we have lost 2 students now, one of them at Pacific University in Seattle, and then the other one just today at Reynolds High School. One of the things, Joe, that I am going to take away from tonight is talking to a student who is friends with Emilio, knows him and his friends, and she said she was hunkered down for 2 hours in her classroom, Facebooking, texting her friends to just make sure they're all okay. And Emilio was the one who just kept on coming up silent for them, and it wasn't until hours later they figured out why. Back to you.
Yeah, it's been a long and difficult day for so many, Reggie, and I think one of the things I'll take away for sure after spending the entire day with so many of these students was just how impressive they were and how calm they were and how collected they were in the light of this traumatic and very difficult day. But that's something for sure this whole community should be proud of, and that's how these students handled this situation. Let's bring in my colleague now, Kyle Boshi, who's been on this investigation all day. He joins us now. We haven't learned a whole lot, Kyle, understandably, but it sounds like we may learn more tomorrow.
Well, the next official police update will be tomorrow morning, late tomorrow morning. At that time, we anticipate learning more about the shooting, including possibly his identity. As you mentioned, Joe, earlier, NBC News citing law enforcement sources suggest the shooter is a student here, but we still don't know where he got the gun, how he got it into the school, or what prompted this shooting. Tonight, police stand guard. Reynolds High School remains an active crime scene after a campus shooting that left 2 dead, including a freshman student and the gunman.
We thought it was just a drill, and then they announced that it was real.
Emotion just fills you that you just got to touch him and know that he's okay.
The first reports came in shortly after 8 a.m., the start of the school day. Dozens of police officers raced to the scene in Troutdale. Oregon's second largest high school went into lockdown. Students huddled in classrooms while heavily armed police officers searched the campus.
I mean, you hear it on the news and you think, yeah, it sucks, but it can't be that bad. But when you see it happen in your own school with all your real friends and your teachers that you've gotten to know over 3-4 years, it's intense.
Investigators say a lone gunman shot and killed a 14-year-old student in a gymnasium locker room. Emilio Hoffman is described as a great kid loved by all. The shooter, armed with a rifle, died at the scene. A track coach and PE teacher, Todd Rispler, was injured. He was grazed by a bullet. Frantic parents raced to the school, waiting for news.
I just want to hold her. Just want to hold her tight and get her home.
Students were evacuated by bus, then reunited with anxious parents.
You can't describe in words how you feel up here waiting for your student to get off the bus. Can you imagine what it's like to not have a student get off a bus?
The inherent belief that our children are in a safe place has been shattered.
So all of us are going to take pause. We're going to be grateful for what we have and cherish our children, and they want to make sure every day that they're safe when they leave our hands, so to speak.
Outside Reynolds High School, neighbors dropped off flowers, a sign of hope after a day filled with tragedy and fear. And throughout the evening, we've seen students and staff come and pick up their vehicles from the parking lot. Remember, they had to drop everything and run when the evacuation from the school occurred. Tomorrow, they'll have an opportunity to come back and pick up some of their other belongings. But, Joe, getting back into the school, that may take some time because obviously it's still a crime scene.
Right. School closed tomorrow, and the district says it will remain closed until further notice. Kyle, thank you very much. One other point we want to make, Portland police say they will have increased security at several Portland schools. Also, that includes David Douglas, Park Rose, and Reynolds, just to give parents and students a little bit more sense of security. Now, once students were cleared from the school here at Reynolds today after this shooting, police still stopped and searched and in some cases patted down some of the students before they were allowed to get on buses and then sent over to the Fred Meyer here in Wood Village, where they were reunited with their parents. And we want to share with you now a picture that we got from a viewer of a girl outside the school being patted down by officers. They did not find anything on this student. I want to make that clear, but it's just a picture to give you an idea of what was happening at the time after this shooting at school. But it is important also to point out that in another search, police did find a second gun. Police say they do not believe it was related to today's shooting, but nonetheless, that student with the second gun was arrested. As we know tonight, Emilio Hoffman was the only student killed by the gunman today, and by all accounts from a family spokesman, Emilio was very well known and very well liked. Our team coverage continues now with News Channel 8's Mike Benner. He spoke tonight with someone who knew Emilio very well. Mike?
I did, Joe. Her name is Kayla Ensign. She tells us she dated Emilio Hoffman last year and again this year. It was one of those off and on sort of things, one of those things that kids that age do, but through all of their breakups, they managed to remain the best of friends, and that's what made what happened today so difficult.
I wish I could have said goodbye or told him how much he meant to me, but I know he knows.
Kayla Ensign considered Emilio Hoffman one of her closest friends. That's why he was the first person she tried contacting when the lockdown at Reynolds High School was finally lifted.
Kept texting him, kept calling him, and then I saw his mom.
Together, the two looked for Emilio, but he was nowhere to be found. It wasn't until hours later that Kayla learned he was the student gunned down in the boys' locker room.
I broke down. It was horrible. I mean, I saw all my friends crying and everyone was hugging me and kept apologizing.
Emilio was a special kid, a lot more than a soccer star. Kayla says he was warm-hearted, honest, smart, and funny. She says he would always put others first, including her.
I would have some of the hardest days of my life and he would make me smile. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's almost like you want him here right now to kind of get you through this whole thing.
I was like, I came home and I was just in denial, like I'm gonna wake up and tomorrow he's gonna be there.
Making matters even worse, Kayla can't think of anyone who would want to hurt Emilio.
He's just so amazing and great, and it really hurts to know that I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and he's not gonna be here.
But the memories will be, like trips to the pumpkin patch. It's those sort of experiences that Kayla will hold close to her heart.
I just want everyone to know that he was a really good kid, that he really didn't deserve what he got, and that he's somewhere better.
Kayla says she talked with Emilio as recently as this morning in the hallway. They were joking about his outfit, of all things. So Kayla's going to bed tonight knowing her final conversation with Emilio was filled with laughter. Joe?
Well, you can certainly hear the pain in her voice. Mike, thank you very much for that report. We want to share a little bit more now on the teacher who's being called a hero tonight, the man who managed to activate the lockdown situation here in the school, even though he had been grazed by a bullet in this shooting. We're joined now by one of that teacher's former students. Our own News Channel 8's Catherine Cook graduated from here at Reynolds High School, and she joins me now live with more. Been a tough day for you too, I know, Catherine.
It certainly has, Joe, and I am a proud graduate of Reynolds High School. I'm also proud to say Todd Rispler was my track coach, my mentor, and my friend. He always wants to bring out the best in students, and today he helped bring them out of harm's way.
I mean, he's like one of the best teachers in school.
He's honestly one of my favorite teachers.
Students at Reynolds High School say Todd Rispler put their lives ahead of his own.
I saw that he had blood on the side of his shirt.
Rispler had just been grazed on the hip by a bullet in the school's gym. That didn't stop the 50-year-old PE and health teacher from doing something Troutdale police call heroic.
I would also like to extend my appreciation to teacher Todd Rispler, who, despite being injured, was able to make his way to the office and initiate the school lockdown procedure.
News of the shooting spread fast.
It was really scary because when we were in the class, all we kept hearing someone figured out that Rispler was shot, but nobody knew actually what happened. And so we didn't know if he was okay or if he wasn't okay.
They know he's okay now, and so are they.
For his bravery, knowing how to handle things, being calm.
He was just being like everybody else and saying, it's okay, you know, we're just trying to get through this, get on the buses, get home, get to your families.
It's no wonder he's their favorite teacher. Something else you might not know about Todd Rispler, he too graduated from Reynolds High School, where he was a star athlete. If you're watching at home tonight, Coach, I want you to know we're proud of you. Back to you.
Catherine, thank you very much. Nice touch. And as you can see here, a couple more people have arrived here at Reynolds High School, as have a handful over the last 15 or 20 minutes to light candles and leave flowers at the marker outside the school here. A very nice touch for sure. I think we talked throughout the day about events that happened during our own high school years that we all remember, whether you lose a classmate in a car accident or to some other death. It's something we all remember their names, right? And we thought today that this is something that not only all these students, but certainly this entire community will remember for a long, long time. Laurel, that'll wrap up our coverage from Reynolds High School tonight. We'll send it back to you in the studio now.
Well, powerful, powerful stories. And as Governor Kitzhaber said earlier in our coverage, I think all of us hold the Reynolds community in our hearts, and we send them our support tonight. Thank you, Joe, and to the night team out there on the scene. But our coverage of the Reynolds High School shooting isn't over.
The country has to do some soul searching about this. This is becoming the norm, and we take it for granted.
President Obama frustrated and angered by today's shooting, the reaction from the White House to Capitol Hill. Plus, how do you talk to your children about something like this? A psychologist weighs in. You can add your message of condolences to the victims and words of support for students and staff at Reynolds. We have set up a post on the KGW Facebook page, and we'll be right back. News of the shooting at Reynolds High School got a strong reaction from the White House and Capitol Hill. On the floor of the House, Oregon Congressman Earl Blumenauer tearfully called for a moment of silence. And President Obama called the string of campus shootings his biggest frustration.
The shooting at Troutdale's Reynolds High follows another campus shooting at Seattle Pacific University just last week. A gunman killed 19-year-old student Paul Lee of Beaverton and injured 3 others. 2 weeks before that, a rampage on the campus of UC Santa Barbara left 6 dead and the gunman. During a Q&A session today hosted by Tumblr, President Obama expressed anger and said not being able to stop the shootings is his biggest frustration.
We're the only developed country on earth where this happens. And it happens now once a week. And it's a one-day story. There's no place else like this.
Last year, Congress failed to pass a bipartisan bill drafted in response to the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut. 20 school children died and 6 adults. The bill would have expanded background checks for gun purchases. Oregon Congressman Earl Blumenauer was shaken by the news of the shooting at Reynolds. It's in his district.
I was there recently. The kids gave me a wooden bow tie with a bicycle on it.
The congressman tweeted a picture of it and sent his thoughts and prayers to families affected by the tragedy. Surrounded by his 4 colleagues in the Oregon House, he choked up as he called for a moment of silence.
I would ask, Mr. Speaker, that the House observe a moment of silence in support for the victims, their families, and the community.
Observe a moment of silence.
The congressman tweeted he hopes the tragedy will inspire action and called for universal background checks. We're going to shift our attention now to the weather. Our Rod Hill is standing by, and we have some rain on the way, Rod, but one more nice day.
That's right. Beautiful today. The showers we talked about as a possibility did stay well up to our north. There was a dab around Seattle. That was about it. We're partly cloudy tonight, 61 degrees from our Wells Fargo Center camera. Here are the temperatures to expect when you get up tomorrow morning. A lot of you will be in the 40s again, low 50s likely here in the Rose City. I'm going 53 in my forecast. Could be some early cloudiness around, not expecting much. Generally speaking, just another sunny day. 65 at noon, and the high temp tomorrow, a little bit warmer. It was 74 today, forecasting 77 tomorrow. This active flow pattern that didn't do anything to us today, but this curl of clouds you see right here is a system that is absolutely likely to bring us our first measurable rainfall of the month of June. And again, that's set for Thursday. Futurecast shows this rain, some of it heavy offshore where you see the yellow and the orange colors. Just offshore at 7 in the morning on Thursday. By 1 o'clock in the afternoon, starting to move into the Portland-Salem metro areas, especially northward up to Kelso, Longview. And once this starts, I think we'll have a likelihood of showers in the area all the way through Friday morning. Now, if you have plans Friday night, we could get a break, meaning the rain showers could be over at some point during the afternoon. Here's our forecast for tomorrow. Another great day. All of the beach expected to have sunshine after any early clouds. We have a little bit of cloudiness right now up around Astoria. Your high tomorrow will be 62. And up and down the Willamette Valley, we'll get up to about 78 degrees in Salem, up into southwest Washington, Kelso, 74 degrees. On the mountain tomorrow, Government Camp up into the 60s. Timberline will be in the 50s. A beautiful sunny day. Winds expected generally to be light at all elevations. And out east, a light wind day too. The red flag warnings that were posted for the Columbia Basin, where it's been really gusty, including today, those winds will be calmer tomorrow, so the red flag warnings have been lifted, which means fire danger not as critical as it has been. The Dow's 83, Hood River 79, west winds Mainly breezy near the Hood River Valley tomorrow, and that's about it in the gorge. Our forecast numbers. So tomorrow, great 77. Thursday, the much needed rain into Friday morning. Could be dry Friday evening. Could be dry much of Saturday with the best chance of weekend rain Saturday night into Sunday morning. Another shower chance on Monday, and then right now Tuesday looks dry. Quick update on the Two Bulls fire. The last update was actually posted this morning, and at that time the fire was 25% contained, up from only 5%, and had not grown. We'll have more on that, of course, updated tomorrow. KGW News back after this.
This is something that happens other places, not something that happens here. We heard that over and over today. So how do you help our kids cope with a tragedy like the one at Reynolds that hits so close to home? The night team's Art Edwards joins us now. And Art, you talk with some experts about this.
Well, I did. You know, there is no doubt that this is going to be a difficult time for an awful lot of people. It is important that parents and their children have the support they need to help them cope with this tragic event.
The healing process started in the parking lot of the Fred Meyer store. An emotional scene as parents and students were reunited. Everything from anxiety to sadness and relief. The experts say it is important that parents look hard at what's happened and begin to deal with the tragedy themselves.
I think the first thing that has to happen is for parents to take care of themselves, so to speak. If they're not a good space emotionally, if they're scattered, if they're overwhelmed, it's hard for them to interact with their children in a helpful manner.
We've heard from the students and parents.
I didn't believe it at all. I thought it was a drill at first, and then it was serious.
Sheer terror, panic, everything. The worst thing runs through your mind when you know that there's somebody running around the school shooting.
A child psychologist we talked with says it is important to go beyond just a quick chat with your children.
I think it's really important to go beneath the surface, that there is a lot of anxiety and underlying sadness, and really to connect with their child.
Now, the experts we talked to also say no matter what, parents have to figure out a way to talk with their children about these kinds of issues. Laurel?
Thank you, Art. Crisis counselors were available throughout the day today, and they will be available at every school in the district tomorrow. They'll also be at Mount Hood Community College from 7 in the morning until 7 in the evening. You can call them 24 hours a day. Here's the number, 503-988-4888. We'll be right back. On this difficult day, KGW viewers sent in their condolences throughout the day through the KGW Facebook page. More than 100 messages on the page so far, many offering prayers for the families involved. And you can add to those messages and share your words of support to students and staff at Reynolds. It's all through the KGW Facebook page. We'll have a final word for you next. We want to remind you that crisis counselors will be available tomorrow from 7 in the morning until 7 in the evening. And we thank you for joining us tonight. Be sure to hug your kids, tell your friends and your family that you love them. On this difficult day, it's a good reminder. From all of us here at KGW, thank you and good night.